So now that you've seen the Ping Hai deck or uh, that kind of style, let's look at a deck. And I actually played against Ming recently with this, which is why this kind of brought about. He's posted about it on the forums. If you want to take a look at it, and it's a very similar idea, and it uses other tools in a way to achieve the same goals and results, but less of the just straight up burst and more of the whittle you down and ping you out style. And the interesting thing that this deck does is it actually has potential with Saber Spine Seals and Tuskboars and Saber Spines to be this like this kind of burst deck, kind of similar to how Shakri was, but you don't have to wait on inner focus, which makes it actually pretty good and probably more efficient than my version of the deck. It's very based on kiting. You'll see that 3 Mist Walkings are in here. They're kind of used to feed off of Mask of Shadows. He actually runs 3 Mask of Shadows. I don't have a third one, so this is just kind of a representation of what his deck would sort of be like if I was to build it with my current card pool. But overall, you can see it also has 3 more legendaries in it. You have 3 more Tuskboars, so it's a lot more expensive of a deck to pull off. But at the same time, I'm also swapping out some epics in the meantime. So things that this deck does better, or the things that's unique to it, is it uses Tuskboar and Saber Spine to actually control the board more than it does the burst. They can be used for that, but they're used to grab early mana tiles turn 1, like all that fun stuff that comes with Tuskboar, and it's very annoying to play against. It does thrive on basically mobility usage to get away and then kind of ping you out in one magnificent explosion of damage. It still does have the finishers as 2 spiral techniques as finishers as well. Overall, this is a much more consistent version of my deck. I would say this is probably more of a aggressive, where I was trying to answer in my deck some of the power threats that you could face with Onyx Bear Seal and stuff like that. Onyx Bear Seal can get in the way of Mask of Shadow finishers if you really want them. But what this deck can do is it says, okay, instead of Onyx Bear Sealing, I'm going to Mist Walking away and just keep running away from you. And I'm going to play that game, which can work to some extent. It does get dicey if you don't have Silhouette Tracer and you're on Mist Walkings to do it, and you have to start running away against a board that's really out of hand. Like, that can become a huge problem. But other than that, it basically does the same thing, but uses again those rush minions. It's more of board control. His version also runs less 4 Winds Magi, but it has a lot more creature support. You can see it's more balanced, 15 versus 19 spells, where mine was a very measly 11 units versus 23 spells. One of the things I would also say, if I go back to my deck as well, is the problem you kind of end up with my deck is, since there's a lot of spells that are tied into creatures specifically, so Mist Dragon Seal, Inner Focus, I can't actually cast those spells, or on an Onyx Bear Seal even, but usually that'll always be usable. I can't actually cast these 6 spells unless I have a creature on the board. So if I'm ever in a state where I don't have something I can really utilize these with, like I can't use an Inner Focus on a 4 Winds Magi, I can use it on pretty much anything else if I want to. But you have to be very careful, especially with Heaven's Eclipse being the main combo card that it is, to not flood your hand with too many spells, especially in this deck, in the Ping Hai deck instead of Ming's deck, that are creature based or stuff that you have to use with that, and then get stuck in the scenario where it's like you can't draw because you can't play spells, and like you're in this weird scenario where you're trying to like, get little value out of cards in order to clear your hand so you can hopefully draw a creature to combo out with. And you want to avoid that at all costs. Also, you can end up scenarios where Heaven's Eclipse, if you just like keep drawing them or whatever, like that, you want to get maximum value. You want to be able to play 2 cards, then play a Heaven's Eclipse to actually draw the 3 cards. You can burn cards on yourself if you play this card. If you play this card and don't have enough spaces, like if you play it with nothing in hand, you'll burn 2 cards, or with a full hand, because you'll burn 2 cards. So things to be careful with this card, at least in the version of Ming's deck. The smart thing about his deck is pretty much nothing is creature reliant. So if you go to his deck, like all his spells, like this can be played on your general, which is another thing to keep in mind. Everything here is pretty much like it'll always have a target unless they're dead, which mission accomplished. But otherwise, Mist Walking is a much easier card to use, and you can just use it as mobility to get away if you want to, if you have nothing else to use it, if you don't have that Mask of Shadows. When I actually played him recently with my Magmar deck, I just sat against the back wall because I knew he would probably have Mask of Shadows, so I think he probably rotated them out during the game once he realized I was never going to leave the back wall. But with this deck, again, it's a little more consistent in that way, and it's a lot more dummy proof, I would say. The only interaction you're going to want to watch out for in this deck is this one, because Tuskboar is like a great card, and the problem with having a lot in your hand early and like the temptation is like, oh, I have like these 3/3 rushes, I'm gonna keep playing them. But after like 1 or 2 turns, if that's all you're playing and you're not able to gas your hand, you can have a full hand and then they can just ignore them and they'll burn off when they come back to your hand, which may seem like, hey, they got a lot of value out of them anyways, but it is a card, especially with Heaven's Eclipse, that can either keep your hand full, so Heaven's Eclipse is hard to use and get value, or they can be burned off very easily because you're going to have this full hand because you want to try to combo out. So it's one of those cards that you kind of can't, like, where my deck has nothing that'll stay and come back to your hand and kind of fill your hand except for Heaven's Eclipse. This one might have some clog with that. So it's something to keep in mind. I mean, you know, like, this is kind of like one of like the first world legendary problems, as I would probably call it now. When I describe it to someone, it's like, yeah, you have this card, it's like, oh, you're going to lose it because it just keeps coming out of your hand. It keeps coming back. Yeah, that's just kind of like one interaction to look at if you're playing through this deck and not get caught in that scenario. The other scenario you don't want to get caught in is one where you play a Blood Rage Mask, you ping a bunch of stuff, and then you're on 2-card draw. That usually won't end well. So you usually want to always pocket a Heaven's Eclipse and keep it kind of in your hand until you can find a way to gas your cards, and then you want to play it either with that combo to fill up and end full, or you want to use it the next turn to ramp again the second time and be absolutely devastating. That wraps up Ming's deck. So let's take a look at it in action. All right, so welcome here. This is actually going to be Ming's deck right here. So I'm going to be the Songhai, if you will, and I get to start Tuskboar. You get to have that nice clean opening against him. I actually like these Ghost Lightnings. They're actually pretty good against certain things that you will face in the Vanar faction, but overall, really like. Just going to be managing this Tuskboar a little bit. They don't have a lot of great answers to this unless they Tiger it early or something. So he's going to sort of Mechazor. I'm going to get back my Tuskboar after that early grab. I mean, wouldn't expect much more out of the turn, so I don't think I stifled Vanar that much here in this game at least. I'm going to replace one of these Lightnings because I don't need to. I am going to Ghost Lightning, and I'm just going to get damage on him. The main reason here is I'm going to try to control the Manicore tiles, and I'm going to see if he'll swing into this and not hold him there in place, or if he's going to try to move and work around it and ignore it, or what he's necessarily going to try to do with these Tuskboars. Because one option is you just ignore them, and then they eventually will burn themselves. It's just kind of almost an inevitability with the draw here. I'd have to burn a lot of cards now at this point to be able to play a Tuskboar and have it live. So I get to keep that one. Now I'm kind of doing the same dance in my head where I'm like, okay, I want to keep clearing the board, and that's really what these Tuskboars are for. I can still give up health here. I still feel pretty confident to give up health against this Vanar because there's no real big steamroll happening here, so I'm actually really scared of what this Vanar player might bring out for the next turn. So I'm going to come in here, just give up a Tuskboar, take a mana tile, though, to do it just for funsies. Because I want to try to deny that, and I want to try to force them to move up and away from me and create distance. And that's kind of the goal here with my placement of these minions. And I'm also going to place it in front of it so he can't get to my side of the board as easily and start playing infiltrate units, that kind of stuff. But right here, because I'm going to draw up to max cards, there's pretty much nothing else I could play there unless I really wanted to force out a Mana Forger to get my hand low enough to keep that Tuskboar. So the Tuskboar is going to burn. Which is a common thing that'll happen, but you never know. Players sometimes don't pay attention to that. They swing into it. So that's just the life of the Tuskboar, if you will. So now I'm actually going to see if I can get him to move around me, potentially if I have any kind of outs here. But I'm going to play this 4 wins and just try to get a lot of pings out of it, draw more cards, and see where I land after all is said and done here. So we'll see how this goes. I think I just get 2 pings out of it. I'm replacing just in case I can get something else out of this. The main thing about a Mark of Solitude Rocky is that while it's great at holding me in place, it actually doesn't get to attack me. So I'm not. That's like the reason I'm pretty confident making this play right here. My hand's going to fill back up because I used 2 Mana Vortexes, which draw your extra card at the end of turn. So I have a full hand yet again, and I have that Mist Walking. One thing I've learned about this deck too is Mist Walking makes you ridiculously slippery, and he's going to Hailstone Prison, kind of try to tempo me here, but I really don't care about it. It does actually kill it, which is cool because it doesn't go back to my hand because I do have a full hand. So it is a good smart play. He plays his Veil Hunter to try to basically get on top of me. I have double Mana Forger here, which means I can start to run away and bring out this Mana Forger and feel pretty safe and confident about playing it. So that's what I'm gonna actually do. I'm actually gonna break out here a little bit. So there's the Mistwalking, and then I can step 2 so I can't actually be locked down again. I don't know why I would place it there. I must be a crazy man at the end of his pitiful rope. I'm gonna move. So I'm not crazy. There we go. Good job. Good job, Paddo. So I put this in the corner so it's safe. And then I'm simply going to Phoenix Fire out this Veil Hunter because it is one of the few things that can start to ping me down. And I want to keep my ping alive, and I'm going to then Heaven's Eclipse. Potentially likely going to draw another Heaven's Eclipse. I'm thinking about Mistwalking this point, but I want to keep it in case I run into another Provoke unit. And this is one of the key things I want to point out too is about I've learned a lot just like playing this deck just a little bit that people aren't, I mean, especially, Mistwalking is not something to expect because I don't think a lot of players play it. However, it is important to suspect ways to get to you with Provoke. And I think some of the things I've noticed here from a lot of players is just not as much awareness about how to protect themselves with Provoke from melee attacks. Like if I played a Rush minion, although maybe feeling safe now at this point since it's going to have like 2 diagonally from each other, but there is obviously an exposed point just above them. If they had another Provoke in here, then I'd actually be in trouble if they played one above me. But in this case, Piercing Mantis comes behind me. They don't actually have a way to take anything from me this turn. I still have 2 bars on this, so this swing is actually probably ill-advised. I'd probably keep that 2 health, but either way, it doesn't really matter because I have so much damage now. I can just simply sneak up with my General, Saber Spine Tiger myself, and then ping him out, and that's a wrap. But just in case, I would have double Mana Forger, and I'd be able to easily combat whatever else I had in this deck. I can even play the 8 damage with the reduction there, so boom, there you have it. Kind of first game and showing the mobility and strength of this kind of style of deck and the adaptations that Ming has made and showing how much more consistent it is. All right, so in this game right here, I'm against a Liner player that actually has a deck that's pretty well teched to fight my deck. And you'll see here in a little bit, I got to get another nice opening. I'm keeping the Saber Spine seal just because the main thing that it is great against is Silverguard Knight, which is a very common lockdown card early. He's not going to answer my Tuskboar. My Tuskboar is easily going to kill his Tiger, though, so it's kind of an interesting play from him. I come down and actually take this mana tile. Again, I want to try to bait him into going up and away from me towards the other mana tile. I would play my Mana Forger, but I feel like playing my Mana Forger would be ill-advised because I'm simply just going to probably lose it to a Tempest or something. So I believe I do hold on to it here, in which I should. I also have a Mistwalking as backup to get away from Provokes. I have a lot of great answers here that I'm kind of feeling about. This Tuskboar, I mean, the only reason to play Mana Forger is to create room for Tuskboar to come back to my hand potentially, although I don't expect that to happen. It's fully expected if I played it, I would just lose it. So I'm just going to pass the turn, fill up, and I expect him to ignore it usually. But we'll see what he actually does here, because a lot of players don't pay attention to that hand, so he actually is going to hit it and just give me basically free damage there, which is very nice of him. Very, very, very nice. It's something, if you play again, and this is something I want to point out, if you play against Tuskboars, just freaking just pay attention to the hand size. If they have a full hand, let them be. Leave them alone. They'll all just die for free, which is the weakness of the card, which is why people think it's ridiculously overpowered when really actually it has some weaknesses. So the question is, do I play 4 wins and then Saber Spine out of here? I decide not to. I'm just going to simply knock this out and start to play this game in end turn. And he's probably thinking to himself, like, why is this guy like holding on to so many cards? Because I'm really waiting for a very beefy turn to bust out 4 wins and start to drop the pain on him. And I know this is going to probably be a long stretch game and not an easy game. So here he is. He's actually thinking about moving up or back, and this is the stuff I love to see. Like, this is kind of like the ideal, and so he's going to play Azurite Lion behind him. I don't know why he does this. I think he's trying to bait me in, but then I just basically say thank you for the room, and I'm just going to back off all the way, and then I'm going to get an awesome turn here where I'm going to be able to at least ping him out a little bit. Not the best turn, but it works. And again, I want to hold on to. I think I could probably get rid of the spiral technique. I don't necessarily know why I decided to hold it there. I probably could have shipped it and seen what else I got. But now I'm set up for my next turn. If this Four Winds does survive, I'm in like a really killer turn to see what he does here. And Tiger gets to move twice, and there's an Archon Spellbinder. Something you don't see every day, but really good in Linar because of the Divine Bond. But basically, because I have a Mana Forger, I'm able to get back to parity of the mana, and I have multiple Heaven's Eclipses in my hand, so I actually need to... I ditch one, basically, and I get a Silhouette Tracer, which is actually going to come in really handy. I know this is going to become a very kitey game here, because we're at high health now, as he's trying to lock me down, if you will. And I don't really want to play another Heaven's Eclipse just yet. I'm kind of just trying to think of what I want to do here. I think I'm going to create room here just so I draw the 2 cards, because I don't want to... Like, I kind of want to just, like, make... I want to stay away, but I want to keep my hand clear so I can draw 2 cards a turn and try to get to something where I can start pinging out my opponent. And that's kind of what I'm concerned with. I want to get to some Blood Rage Mass. And I play another Heaven's Eclipse right there just to get more spells in my hand. I have double Spiral Technique right now, which is pretty strong. But I've burned through 2 Heaven's Eclipses, so stuff isn't like great. And he's at 19. Of course, I'm at a very healthy 25. He's going to swing here, and then he's going to hurt himself and everybody and just Tempest out, which isn't a bad idea. He's able to take off 2 of my combo pieces, and there's still this giant Archon Spellbinder on the board that I just really don't want to deal with. Like, it's a pain in the butt for me, basically. He's going to play Silver Knight. That's a good placement right there. It covers a lot more ground, and I couldn't backstab it if I had the chance to because the general is there. Although I would be coming right into Archon Spellbinder, so potato, like, probably still bad. I realized here with my Silhouette Tracer I wouldn't be able to create enough distance to get away, so instead what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit out here, and then I'm going to create probably a little bit of distance to myself with this Mistwalking, just to get back against this wall. Because I have the mana to do so, and I have a Silhouette Tracer for next turn. So I'm going to prep this by Phoenix firing the Spellbinder. And then I'm going to create that little bit of extra room so that the Spellbinder can't come in and get Divine Bonded and hurt me. It is very easy for him to potentially heal that up as he comes after me. So I don't want him to heal it and then Divine Bond it and then I just die horribly. Which is a very big possibility. Like, if we watch his hand for the rest of the game, there's probably 2 cards in there that are Divine Bonds. And he's probably holding them for just lethal combo if he's ever able to tag me. So the thing I want him to do is walk in on me. The thing that would be best for him is to actually kind of maybe just leave the Archon Spellbinder where it is. Again, I'm talking about the Silhouette Tracer distance you want to kind of keep. And instead he walks 2 forward, and this is actually the big mistake probably he makes this game is coming this far in on me if he's not able to fully block me in. If he was able to fully block me in, I'd be in trouble. The one thing he does do that is very smart is he does actually play this Arclight Sentinel behind. So it's something that it's going to be very hard for me to get away from in the long run. So I'm clearly playing this. And I know that that's like my play. So I'm just gonna start the runaway, and now he's gonna start to think about, this is flipping the board, so now he's gonna start to think about Mask of Shadows potentially coming out. I don't think I see one this entire game, or even in both series. I don't even think I saw very many Mask of Shadows. I know they're in this deck though, but he's maybe thinking about like, okay, I don't want to fully move into Mask of Shadows. I want him to come into me, stuff like that. Which really I'd be trying to run me down as fast as possible and get rid of this, which is going to be the Blood Rage Mask. I do know that he does have. And see, now I have 2 Blood Red Masks. This means I'm going to have a really good next turn because I do have the ability to use this Mana Forger. And if I want to, I can start to look at potentially killing out this Archon Spellbinder. The good thing is at 8 health instead of 9 health. It's normally a 7-9, and a 7-9 I would not be able to get through. But luckily it does have that little bit of damage on it. So I have potential here thanks to the 6 damage it took total between his Tempest and my Phoenix Fire. So now he's in I think he's like in a crisis battle here where he's trying to move forward but keep in range for his Zeal units so that he can actually kill the Silhouette Tracer, which is the brilliance of its placement. And also, I mean, again, this just like gives me so much room. And so one of the main other mistakes is just there's no suffocation happening really here, and he's feeling really confident about being this high of health. But the problem is that I'm going to move away, and now because there's no threat of damage next turn, I feel completely confident throwing out this spiral technique, and I'm going to be able to do it while locked on. I'm going to be able to draw 2 cards out of this in here. I can even mana vortex if I want to, but I'm going to hold on to that for this next turn to potentially get an even bigger turn, and we'll see how this actually plays out. Down to 20 cards in my deck because I've been drawing a little bit. I have 3 cards on them, but he can't get anything to me this turn, which is really like the big thing that's going to happen for me this turn is the fact that I got my 3rd Blood Rage Mask. I'm going to be able to just ping the absolute crap out of him. The other good part is I actually don't have to use my Mana Forger this turn because everything is so cheap that I'm actually just going to get, 9 plus 6. So I'm going to get 14 damage out of this, essentially for free. And I'm going to get to draw 3 cards because I'm going to use the Mana Vortex this turn. So that's actually one of the best parts about this, and something he probably wasn't actually expecting. And so he's going to go way, way low here, which is awesome. Actually, no, it was more than that. It was 12, 15. Yes, 15. So he takes 15 right there. Goes back down to 7. Sundrop elixirs. He's like, I'm safe, guys. I feel cozy in my bed. Life is good. And he's going to try to get these off. They do have 3 durability still, so he has to be pretty aggressive to get rid of these. With what he has, the best would probably be double. He swings and he double immolation fire or whatever holy immolations me. That would be the best for him. But I'm guessing, and I'm sitting here watching it, and I know the telltale sign that you're going to tell is when you watch his movement of his units and he doesn't move his 4/3s, that you know that he's going to Tempest when he clicks off over there. So he's going to Tempest because he wants to get rid of that damage. And the good part for him though is his 3/3 or 3/6 or whatever, his Suntide Maiden. It's gonna live because it's gonna heal back up, which is kind of the nice part about running it with an immolate or with this kind of setup, because the 3 damage just gets healed back up after you do it. Lose everything else, but whatever. So now I'm gonna do a combo turn where I'm basically just kind of dig for as many cards as I can cast this turn. Draw out a lot of stuff. I'm thinking about. I think right now is what I'm trying to find out if I get Saberspine Tiger, the general, and kill him. But I can't actually. I already moved for the turn, so I'm not going to be able to do it. But that would be pretty baller. But I can't do that. The best I can get out of it is just the 1 damage from. I could only get out 2 damage and not be able to hit anything. So I'm just like, okay, move to next turn. Now at this point I have lethal. He has 7 health. And he's basically kind of run out of options. He's down to 4 cards in his hand. He would need to start to back off and just pull a lot of heals, but he knows that I probably have range, and if I have no Blood Leech Mask, but as long as that 4/4 is still up, he's in pretty much good hands. He doesn't have a way to clear it, and if he could do that, he could probably get to me and kill me with his Suntide Maiden and Divine Bonds, but he's going to play Archon Spellbinder. Unfortunately for him, I still have a Mana Forger, which he should walk forward and probably kill. I would suggest, but I think he's pretty much dead at this point. He knows it. At least that much is clear to me, unless he has enough for immolation, so I think he's going to immolate here, which is really like the big play. And by the way, the Archon Spellbinder is cheap. It's cheap for the stats and what it does, so like that's a great play for him. He's feeling confident, but simply Spiral Technique him out. I mean, Spiral Technique I could have just walked forward, Saberspine Tiger. I could have commoned him out. Or basic him out. So that's Ming's deck, and you can see it's very consistent, very elusive. Probably the biggest thing that struck me is how elusive it was and how much players probably need to learn overall about how to chase down these decks and how to position around their escapes. And I think that would actually cut down a lot of my success in these games.